Hello, dear friends. If you talk to vegan people, their philosophy, in theory, is to reduce animal suffering. However, when we look at the practical results of their lifestyle, some of us actually begin to wonder, aren't they contributing for more suffering for the living creatures on Earth? And in addition, in this video, I would like to bring to your attention that the seemingly innocent vegan movement is actually indirectly supporting the transhumanistic agenda. I hope you will listen until the end because I found lots of supporting evidence. If you ask a vegan why doesn't he eat eggs, the answer is ready. They are so cruel to the chicken, they keep them in cages, etc. The ordinary vegan is himself not aware that already he starts underlining the importance of mainstream supplied food with his answer. The ordinary vegan himself doesn't understand that with these pre-learned answers, he's already trying to put horse blinders on the listener by not even mentioning the actually only normal and sensible way for people to get eggs, and that is by raising chicken with love. And then the listener to the vegan says, yeah, but you don't seem to eat even normal eggs, organic. And then the well-versed vegan will reply, here, it's even on the internet. Labels like free range and organic generally only serve to make consumers feel better about eating animals. Our vegan activists have observed that even in the organic farms, the chicken are not treated with honor. Again, the vegan doesn't even want to talk about the most normal thing a real animal lover should be thinking about: chicken who are treated properly. He doesn't even want to mention them. And then you ask one time more, but what about my chicken? I don't treat them badly and you won't even eat their eggs. And then the vegan pulls out the ultimate card, after which nobody asks further. The vegan replies, my spiritual growth will be stunted. This is the exact phrase I saw being used. Because these are the embryos of the chicken. This is unethical to eat, unethical to eat embryos. It does sound very spiritual and sublime, but what I wonder is, what do they mean by spiritual progress when the percentage of the fixed vegans worldwide seems to be much, much higher than the general percentage of fixed people? So a tribe which is taking the precursor of the mark of the beast is lecturing us on spiritual progress? It is undisputed and well-known fact that animals have been tortured for this fix, the estimates being in millions. And also there is human abortion tissue inside, all kinds of disgusting stuff. And the vegans who've been screaming out loud against these things, they went for them in much greater numbers compared to the overall world population, which in general is not very interested in spirituality, and also they eat meat.
Oops.
Well, how did the tribe end up in such a funny situation is that it is actually a centrally regulated movement. Behind the scenes are our well-known friends, the parasites. So they simply implanted these ideas that you see, actually even the vegan societies themselves posted at that time recommendations that everybody should decide for themselves, and you have to consider, yes, we have vegan principles, but you have to consider that we are in an extremely dangerous situation, so decide for yourself. Yeah, and that's what people decided. Because they knew there would be people with the doubts, so they provided a gentle, free of cost grooming. An example from PhD, yeah. So to encourage the people to do something against of what these very same preachers have been telling them for years before that, now they convince them that, you see, it's absolutely normal to have foolish consistencies, inconsistencies, or here they have flowery words, idiosyncronicities. The gist of the article is absolutely fine. Be yourself, make things which don't make sense. Although you're a vegan, take it, although it doesn't make sense. And don't feel guilty. That's what the PhD said. What I say, oh yes, it is absolutely normal to do funny things which don't make sense for those sick of autism, not for normal people. And if you think that, okay, I'm a vegan, but I didn't get jabs, so this doesn't refer to me, you are wrong, because you didn't fall in this trap, but still you are a member of the tribe. This time you escaped safe, but in future there will be way more difficult situations. You will be anyway in severe hardship, and you don't want your tribe dragging you in the wrong direction and make the hardship even worse. I beg you to listen until the end of this video. Let's first have a very short peek at the dark roots of the vegan movement, because that will perfectly explain all the seemingly strange things which I will mention later on. At least some 2/3 or maybe even 3/4 of the ancient people had some sort of vegetarian or very similar to vegetarian, usually priestly class. For example, India, and the country of the vegetarians. In Ayurveda, they described actually the health benefits of the different types of meats. And yet, for the people who are interested in higher consciousness, they recommend being strict vegetarians. So, people were not fanatic at that time. They also understood that God gave, for example, carnivorous teeth to people and other body features. So, that was at least a hint that at least some people, at least in some circumstances, were supposed to eat meat by divine design. And along with that, there were always other people who didn't want animals to be butchered for their meal. That's why they were vegetarians. And they were healthy and happy and grew non-toxic vegetables in their small gardens. Vegetarianism was very prominent in Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, Sikhism, which are actually one and the same religion, as I have explained in older videos. But let's not get distracted. In Christianity, historically, at least the monks and often even laymen were vegetarian or almost vegetarian. But as the time went on and Christianity degraded, that became less and less common, and now it is practiced, I believe, mostly amongst Orthodox monks only. There is no mention in it by the modern Catholics, but historically also the Catholic monks, they were also almost vegetarian. In the Islamic scriptures, I found only one very vague hint towards vegetarianism. It's not widely quoted, but also other minor religions like the Baha'i and others, they definitely have references of vegetarianism being recommended for people who want to achieve higher states of consciousness. That's how it was. But when the parasites weren't comfortable with this situation, they applied their usual tactic to take a good concept, twist it just a little bit, and use the good parts for bite, gain followers, and lead them to the ditch. Veganism did not sprout out of the masses. It was centrally introduced and orchestrated. They found rebels amongst the vegetarian society of that time and made this heresy. And they said, you see, we the vegans, we know better. We are even less violent than vegetarians. We take it to another whole new level. And then they hired tested, seasoned prostitutes loyal to the dark side to make movies and post on social media that if you become a vegan, you will save animal lives and you will save the planet from CO2. Yes, the CO2 scam was one of the main ideological traps which they used. They traumatized the more sensitive people with the gruesome images of animal cruelty, and then, with misleading promises, managed to convert some 70 to 90 million people to veganism. It worked very well for them. Many nature lovers embraced veganism. Of course, naturally, two-thirds are women because they used emotional traps to make new converts. And 80 million, that is really lots of people. That is like the entire population of a very, very big country. If all these people, all these millions, would have turned to natural living in nature instead of chewing on Monsanto imitation sandwiches just because they are labeled as vegan, that would have had a positive, tangible impact on the entire world. So the vegan trap is very cleverly designed. They managed to trick the most emphatic and compassionate people on earth. And again, what about those vegans who actually do live in nature and try to be self-sufficient? Well, they do it not because they're vegan, but despite being vegan. Let's imagine the vegan movement didn't exist. All these, the most compassionate people on earth who joined it, if they were not vegan, most likely a much larger percentage of them compared to now would live in nature because this is the most normal reaction of people when they see that food is being poisoned, nature is being destroyed. Let's run for our lives to nature, to natural surroundings. Probably that's what they would have decided, but instead they were given this surrogate solution. Stay in the city and feel good by reading labels. And possibly it is not by pure chance that the plant food for vegans is way more poisonous with chemicals than the plant food served to other people. Maybe they do it on purpose so that they poison faster the most compassionate people on earth. And how did they manage to confine so quickly the most nature conscious and sensitive people on earth? The vegan hypocrisy cult. Well, as usual, using psychological tricks. They made these documentaries with very disturbing images of animal cruelty. And after that, instead of offering them the traditional and the normal solution to raise plants and animals with love instead of cruelty, using the fact that the people who have seen the disturbing cruelty images are already in disoriented state of shock. In that moment when they are susceptible, they sold them this surrogate toxic doctrine that you can be kind to nature by supporting city life, living disconnected from nature and relying solely on the honesty of labels. And that's where the vegan hypocrisy shines best. When it comes to organic eggs or organic meat labels, of course they know that's a lie, they're not really organic. But when it comes to the labels of plant food, or at least food which they think it's plant, then it is acceptable, then it is not fraud. And reading and believing without questioning vegan labels is the topmost tenet of their religion. I have also seen it in person and also the online materials. This is like really the most important, to constantly read labels and believe them. And thus, blinded by the label reading cult, they swallow all the Monsanto. And they tell you that every day I'm saving one animal. Yes, you are saving one animal because you don't eat it, but how many animals die because to plant your Monsanto things, they're destroying entire farms and they're spreading poisons which maybe even kill more than the animals you save here. And I carefully researched and read lots of materials on the topic of how exactly and practically the vegans fight animal cruelty. And nowhere in their manuals and instructions and websites and anything was there even a mention for the most obvious solution: become self-sufficient, grow your own food. They are only told to stay in the city and actively preach to recruit more fanatics. And even harass small farmers. Yes, instead of becoming farmers, okay, vegetarian farmers, not necessarily meat farmers, they harass the farmers, even reaching to the point of criminal activities. And if you think that, okay, these are some fanatics, I have nothing to do with that, I'm not that type of person, you are not exactly right, because by being in that tribe, you're indirectly responsible also, a fraction of it. And the other thing is, maybe you're not making gross mistakes like them, criminal activities against small farmers. But what is the guarantee that you're not doing small, subtle mistakes in your life, which may cost you your health or some other problems of which you don't know the origin? It is quite possible, because veganism is a dangerous cult. So after they set up everything behind the scenes and made their propaganda, they started the new movement. Whom did they manage to convince? Most of the people who joined are very young people from urban origin. Of course, you cannot convince people who are connected to the land into such things with great success. And also the statistics clearly show, and I have seen that with my own eyes, they managed to convince the woke people, those who nowadays wholeheartedly embrace the transhumanistic ideas and devilish new fashions. That type of crowd felt that it resonates with them. And because these are city people, they just eat Monsanto meat substitutes. If it is written on the label that it is organic, it is just fine, even if it contains the burial ashes of their grandparents. Like what I mentioned in the previous video, I was chatting with a viewer of the channel, and he was really, are they putting my, ancestors in the sausages? Is it really true? And so I told him I heard it in the Russian original, and they were quoting a German source of a member of the tribe, which one should not mention on YouTube. Of course, I have not seen it with my own eyes, but let's look at some facts. Number one, the Satanists are pulling the strings of the organized society nowadays. Number two, when somebody does black magic, the first thing, the ABC, is to put the black magic substance in the food. That's the start. That's in all cultures which do black magic. Fact number three, cremated or non-cremated remains of humans are extremely powerful objects. Like, for example, the remains of the saints, they from them fragrant oils come out. It is very common. It is not just once or twice. It's the rule. That's how they confirm that they are saints. And the dark opposite of that is burial ashes from a dark ritual. Of course, they are the most potent thing you can imagine in black magic. So, and on the top of that, keeping in mind that it will be extremely easy for them to organize such blessing ceremonies, and we even have one testimonial that is going on. I mean, in overall, what are the chances that they are already doing it? In the Russian original, there was a mention of the McDonald's brand in relation to the sausages. And when the person with whom I was talking heard that, he remembered an old story from the dawn, the beginning years of McDonald's. There was a story of them selling fresh human flesh. So maybe they have tradition in that. So I would be personally very surprised if it is not true. Because, okay, maybe 5 years ago, I would say, oh, wow, maybe they would have some fear or some shame to go that far all of a sudden. But seeing how far are they going now and how rapidly they get more and more shameless, I would say nothing could surprise me anymore. And there are quite few corporate big companies like McDonald's, which are famous for human abuse, animal abuse, putting unimaginable poisons in their things, and yet when they introduce their all veggie, all new burger, the vegans flock there and rejoice and hail.
Yeah.
Because if a particle of their grandma was in the burger, of course they would put it on the label. Come on. One of the reasons for taking more than a month break from making videos before the last one was that actually I got poisoned from milk powder, because sometimes I like to make chocolate without sugar and without any caffeine, and I was making that all these years, but then I just changed the brand of the powder milk. And what a surprise! There was no poison on the label. I don't know how it poisoned me. And it was also quite tricky to find out what was exactly the reason. And maybe another vegan example will be more appropriate to the subject. A friend from Belgium just a few days ago told me she bought wheat for her chicken, and they don't even eat it. Yeah, they just don't eat it. And as we know, they're using this type of wheat also for human food, the one they import from Ukraine. And the vegans, not only they think that they know better than their forefathers how to preserve nature and the planet, that's just the beginning. They think they know better than God even. Because God made cats and dogs and many other animals carnivorous, but the vegans quite often force their pets into becoming vegan as well. So the vegan says he's the most ethical to nature person on earth, and yet his own dog doesn't think so, of course, if he's fed Monsanto instead of meat. Back in time, when they were launching the vegan movement, the carbon footprint philosophy was a pivotal one. It was not yet so widely known what a dangerous scam that is, so it worked at that time quite well. Now, when they preach, they mostly use, vegans fight pollution. They avoid a little bit the carbon footprint thing, because not so many people believe in it. But how true is it that being vegan stops pollution? It seems not at all. Because, first of all, the vegans are predominantly city children. They don't understand in reality what does it mean ecosystem. You don't have only plants in the ecosystem, you also have animals, you have predators. And if you disturb that delicate balance, you will find the hard way that you're not smarter than God. So the vegans don't look at the big picture of the ecosystem. They're satisfied with an extremely simplified example. You see, for one vegetable meal, you make less pollution than for a meat dish. Well, even that is not true actually, because they don't take into consideration that because they mostly remain in the city, their plant meal requires lots and lots of transportation. And also, you can't just chew grains directly. They require lots and lots of processing, especially to create the variety of the vegan meals. All this is done in factories, which create heavy pollution. The vegans are blind for that. But mostly, what is the most sad out of the story is that they eat these over-processed and overloaded with chemicals meals, and thus they mistreat their own human body. Thus, they are against nature actually. According to some calculations, vegan meals actually create way more pollution. They take into consideration all this stuff, like the animals which are killed by the freight industry, the animals and people being killed so that they can steal their farmland and displace them. It's not really possible to check if these calculations are true in the same way as we cannot check the calculations of the vegans. Yet at the end, the main question which remains is why the vegans, the self-proclaimed top nature lovers, do not respect their own body, the temple of Mother Nature. And so many of them, because of the improper eating, they become so skinny that it is scary to look at. People have created even the expression vegan face. And the reason for that is not that the plant-based diet lacks nutrients. Obviously not. There are so many millions of vegetarians who are doing fine. Most commonly, they might have turned into more toxic diet by becoming a vegan because then they eat these processed things even more in some cases. And also, these are city children. They're getting their food only in the supermarket because that's the place to get those super important labels to read. And the supermarket food is poisonous. Especially the bio and organic food is more poisonous than ordinary. This I know directly from a person who works for such a lab for bio products. So it's normal that they get more poisoned food. And of course, small percentage, we know that from the ancient Vedic scriptures, but again, this is very rare, is people who actually really suffer because they don't eat meat. There are a couple of categories of such people, and I will mention them at the end of this video. And one of the things which I really didn't like when I started reading vegan things to prepare for this video was the debunking videos for veganism, because 80-90% of the people who try to become vegan, they just get sick and go back to eating normal food within a couple of months. And after that, because of the delusion and not understanding properly the harms of the fanatic cult, they say, oh, I didn't eat meat, that's why I got sick. Not necessarily, and most likely not. Most likely, you were poisoned by the Monsanto in your fully organic burger. Or, let's face it, the people who turn to veganism, they live in the cities. They go to work. They don't have time to prepare proper meals. They don't have time to cook 5 hours every day to prepare all these fantastic vegan dishes as seen on the vegan advertisement productions. Most likely, the only option you were left with while being vegan is to grab something with attractive label from the supermarket, something which has been reduced to almost zero nutrition by the processing plants. Most likely, another major reason for people turning sick when they become vegans is that it is very common for people to fall into this advertising that become vegan to lose weight. So we have the situation of a person with bad nutrition, already not well, joining the cult, and then they're fed even worse. Of course, they will get sick rather fast. So vegans sponsor the destruction of small farms, of self-sufficient people, of native people's farms, tribes, because they mainly eat food with labels with well-written promises, and the most cunning corporations are best in writing such labels. So the vegans sponsor them, and they organize the destruction of small farms and wildlife. Lots of wildlife is killed with all these pesticides and roundups and all other poisons from the corporations. Unknowingly, they also support the murder of native people done by the corporations to free land. And we know of such cases, but I suspect they might have been much more than it is reported. So this was just the sad beginning of the movement. From now on is the rapid downhill. Since vegans are more inclined to woke ideas in general, they will be more compliant with the new parasitic order, and in this way they will help in blowing up the entire ecosystem on Earth. And by the way, if you wonder where did I find that data, that the percentage of jabbed vegans is far bigger than the average on Earth, the answer is I calculated it in a very approximate way like this. Since exact statistics on this topic were not available, I took individual country statistics that was available. So in UK, which is one of the top vegan countries, 87% of the vegans got the fix, compared to 90% of the ordinary people. As you can see, the difference is almost negligible. And keeping in mind that they were exempted from the compulsory vaccination groups. In addition, I found an official document of a dangerous group of people who do not take the fix, and there were people with all kinds of beliefs, but the vegans, they were definitely not even mentioned. And also the fact that the vegan philosophy resonated mostly to people who are found in the countries where brainwashing is stronger and where the fixation is much higher. That by itself already should ring some bells, hopefully. Somehow they couldn't convince the people to subscribe to the vegan propaganda in the countries with traditional lifestyle where people are still near to the land. So the numbers show clearly that those who bought the fixed propaganda, they are also more likely to buy it on the vegan propaganda. I want to show you what kind of unbelievably weird stuff I found, much to my surprise, while browsing vegan resources yesterday. So, Mr. Wilson changed his mind about biophilia. He's not sure it is innate in every person, and biophilia is the new name for the feeling to belong to nature.
Wow!
Wow, I didn't know they have reached that far in their transhumanistic propaganda. It is scary that such materials exist, and I found it on one of the most famous vegan websites. And people actually read and absorb this stuff. And the big vegan websites appear to be so scientific. Everything is confirmed by the studies of the World Health Organization. Even the eggs are bad, milk is bad. And of course, everything besides printed meat will be bad shortly. And here is the funny situation. Ideas like the 15-minute cities, they get relatively more support from vegan communities than ordinary people, because the vegans think that this will save lives or something like that. So they're more likely to fall into that trap, more likely to be in the city when the big collapse starts. So the starvation will start first there. And before it was only in the prophecies, but now I see some confirmation in the news also. Cannibalism will be becoming much spread, and the confirmation I mean is from Haiti, where the gangs took over large regions, and yes, they are turning cannibalistic. And self-appointed society managers like that. They're exporting already such gangs to US. How long will it be before they do the same initiatives in Europe? Not decades, not decades. So when that happens, these very same vegans who now think that their movement is all about not killing animals, They may end up killing more than the other people, and not only animals but humans as well. If most vegans decided that COVID is an enough of emergency to break their rule of not taking animal products, then when the time of upheaval and extreme deadly hunger starts, obviously that will also qualify than more of a sufficient ground to break the rule again and become cannibal. While on the other hand, if they would not have become a member of the vegan tribe alone, this would be compassionate people, and they might have decided, if they were not influenced by vegan philosophy, to actually become self-sufficient and grow vegetables in the countryside. So basically, for those who engineered the vegan movement, it turned into a grand success. They managed to influence some 1% of the world's population just by, propaganda on the social media, and turned them into label readers instead of self-sufficient people. So what about the vegans who live in the countryside, who do not harass other farmers, who actually try to grow their own food, who are not fixed? Aren't they a proof that the vegan movement is not really as dark as I'm trying to depict it? No, because they are such people, but they were lucky and they are not the majority. It's like this: when people go fishing, they use bait, which is food which is nutritious and good actually for fish. There is nothing wrong in the bite itself. And in some cases, the fish get away with the bite without being caught. So good for them. For some reason, were they smarter fish? Did they have good luck? It's okay for them, but not for the majority of fish. And even if they have been lucky so far, this doesn't mean that one day, if they continue to be amongst fishing bites, it will end good for them. In the same way, the engineers of the vegan movement, they borrowed lots of good stuff from the vegetarian philosophy to use it as a bait because they were hunting for good-hearted people who would get attracted to the ideas of compassion. If you are a vegan yourself, even if you have not fallen in any of the traps set by the engineers of the movement, still, just with your very membership, by giving attention and publicity to this movement, you're contributing a very minute fraction of your life force to this not very good cause. It is always wiser to follow our forefathers. They did know better, especially about spiritual things. Be vegetarian. And in general, don't you feel that at the current moment is not so important to bother about nutritional issues and what exactly food you eat, as long as it is human, grown by yourself or collected from the wild around you, keeping in mind what kind of disgusting stuff and black magic they put in things from the supermarkets? Is it really worth to risk eating that just for the sake of sticking to given diet? Well, I don't know. For me personally, not. If one day I will have only the choices of eating printed supermarket food or really organic meat grown locally, I will definitely go for the second, although I'm kind of vegetarian. The real motives of the vegan movement is to create hostility towards the farmers because they are planning to organize this starvation and distribute just a bit food to those who are stamped with 666, and the farmers are an obstacle. And also, another goal of the vegan movement is to subtly groom humanity that something grown in a lab is actually better than a real egg from your backyard. And of course, they will be, or possibly even already are, using cells from dead animals and aborted human material, probably even corpses, all kinds of disgusting stuff when they do this grown in a lab thing. But because it's not on the label, the vegans think that it is vegan. So, although I recommend it to everybody who feels sorry for the animals in the slaughterhouses to become vegetarian, still there are two situations in which becoming a vegetarian actually may weaken their body, because some type of people, they become weak when they don't eat meat. This is very rare, but it is possible. The first type is people who, for one reason or another, believe that they usually believe in nutrition theories. They think that there are certain ingredients in meat which, if they don't get, they will get sick or weak. Well, why would such people become vegetarians to start with? It's because sometimes people hold contradictory beliefs, like they may fully or partially doubt or believe that there are some essential nutrients in meat, and yet at the same time feel for the poor animals who die in such a horrible way. So they might be in a dilemma and decide, well, let's give it a try, let's become vegetarian for some time. And because the human body is quite a magical and complicated machine, it has been shown by countless examples that the beliefs held by the person actually affect the bodily functions quite a lot. So even a doubt in that person's psyche, what to speak of a firm conviction that there are essential nutrients in meat, that itself, in some cases, not all, can make him physically weak when he becomes vegetarian. And the second group of people who may become physically weak when they become vegetarians, these are people with certain bodily dispositions. It's quite complex, more about it in the Vedic literature. But for most people, it is without complications or any side effects, only with positive results. They decide to become vegetarians, and they do. Isn't the question of are there essential for human nutrients in the meat absolutely redundant when we have so many millions of vegetarians who do not live less than the meat eaters, neither they are more prone to getting sick? Although some individual sicknesses are more common amongst the vegetarians or amongst meat eaters, still, as a whole, neither of them is healthier, at least in the current state of affairs. Probably historically the vegetarians were healthier, but that's another question. And by the way, there is some evidence suggesting that Christ himself preached being vegetarian, and vegetarianism was very, very common amongst early Christians. And just a couple of hours ago, I got the latest news from the gatherings of devils in the Chamber of Hell in Brussels. Number one, certain types of genetically modified food is not required to have mention in the label of the products. And if you are manufacturing it, don't you worry, because nobody will be checking if you don't put it on the label to which group your genetic meat printed belongs, because number two, no testing required. And then number 3, during the last gathering, all farming in general has been identified as ecocide. This is a legal term for a heavy criminal offense. So for farming activities of all type and description, one could be prosecuted as a murderer of Mother Nature. And by the way, if you become vegetarian instead of vegan, this doesn't mean that you have to drink the milk of tortured cows. Yet on the other hand, I would highly recommend you to eat milk products, not exactly milk as such, but especially yogurt made from real milk with live culture. Because these milk products, according to the ancient Vedic literature, they're the most precious and intelligence nourishing food for humans. Because believe me, the Vedic people knew much more science than the World Health Organization. If you found the content of this video useful, you may consider checking out the playlist on my channel, NewEarth, called The Different Holistic Cure. Have a nice day.